Well, we got here to talk and just kind of give you my reaction from the weekend at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're already heading into Richmond. It's been a little while, but I've been catching up with my content. Hopefully, get back on track and kind of stay up to date with you guys. Let you give you my thoughts on the newest NASCAR news. But look, Indianapolis short race at IRP. It's a great short track. Ty Majeski gets it done. A guy who won there, technically won there last year, but they got penalized because he had something. They were doing something fishy with the tire when they were letting it was like it would let out air and it would keep air out of it. It was some great engineering, but they got caught from it, and then pretty much they got their win counted, but they lost all the points. So that was interesting. But look, we saw the great battles between Corey Heim and Chris Eckes. They got into it, had a little bit of beef going on there, and then Corey Heim was able to surge back, and then he got passed by Ty Majeski. I wasn't really able to watch much of that race. I didn't stay up today. I kind of fell asleep pretty much is what happened. I was tired from work. So I never really get a good update, a good sense how that race went. But overall, it seemed like a typical truck race, nothing too flashy. We had Corey Haim did get into and, show his displeasure towards Chris Eckes for the way he got raced there. But nothing's come out from it. No penalties, no nothing from it. So that is what it is with that. Then we get to Saturday, the Xfinity Series race. It was a banger. It wasn't looking like it could have been a banger, but it ended up becoming a banger. They cut this horsepower. They gave him the Super Speedway engine package, and then they gave him the regular intermediate aero package, and they kind of turned it into an Indianapolis type style race. But the cars got a lot more spread out. They were also super slow. I mean, they were going to tops like 160 mile an hour by themselves. They were slow as crap. It was like a NASCAR racing experience car going around there. But I don't know why they cut the horsepower. It's weird. They don't cut the horsepower for Pocono, and that race was really good, really exciting to watch. But then they go to the track just kind of like it, and they cut the horsepower. But it ended up being a great finish. But I do felt like it was, you had these like little packs of cars, spread out cars. You had some cars standing with each other to keep the draft and not lose the pack. We saw SVG have a top 5 finish. Actually, SVG in this race was impressive for him. Now, look, was this? I don't know how, if he, due to the way that the draft was able to keep him in the pack, I don't know if he had overall on raw speed he was that good. He probably was, but it was impressive to watch that. But it was really, I feel like, Stuart Haas and Jogas Racing and pretty much Eric Almirola. He was his first race back since his little suspension with Jogas Racing because of that whole run-in with Bubba Wallace. But Eric Almirola, he crashed, he spun out, lost all his track position. So it was really a battle between Riley Herbst and Cole Custer, and it looked like Cole Custer was fast, but it looked like Riley Herbst was the best car and even faster. And they just kind of stayed with each other, and then they would like kind of slingshot past each other. It was fun to watch, entertaining to watch. We saw some big wrecks. I believe it was, what was it, Anthony Alfredo, excuse me. He just was slow, and then no one saw him. And then Parker Rexlaff, my gosh, that is a tongue twister, was pretty much was going off in their car, and then just got kind of sent into, he didn't see Anthony Alfredo just destroyed, and then a bunch of their cars got collected into that. Well, I got to talk about this finish. It was incredible. Cole Custer, slower car, Riley Herbst makes a pass, coming to the white flag, but due to Eric Almirola, which was able to go on a different strategy, kind of stay out, was able to get to third and kind of catch up to those guys, reel them in while these guys were battling hard. And then while these two were side by side coming to the white flag, Eric Almirola gets around both of them, and then Cole Custer lets his teammate go because he knows that Riley Herbst was faster, lets him go, and then it gives Riley enough time to kind of keep the draft on with Eric, and then he sets him up in 3 or 4 and I don't even know, he might have touched him a little bit, but not enough to like full out just move him. He just got him arrow tight, got in the inside, and then he almost lost in 4. You could see him working that wheel. It was impressive to watch. Takes the win. That's Riley Herbst's second career win ever. There's already rumors. Denny Hamlin tweeted impressive, all this stuff, but that was a great win from Riley Herbst. We get to Sunday, the Brickyard 400. Finally, it's back, 30th anniversary. What are we going to expect? A lot of people are expecting kind of with Pocono. It's going to be, track position is going to be important, hard to pass. The leader is going to have a big advantage. And it kind of was like that all race, hard to pass. We saw Reddick kind of dominate stage 1, but also some strategy. And him, I think, having a bad pit stop, whatever happened there. was then able to allow Denny Hamlin to take the lead and ended up winning stage 2. Stage 1 was pretty calm, pretty tame, but then we got into stage 2, a little more chaotic. Restarts, because it was freaking hard to pass, restarts got a little more intense, and that's where we saw some big wrecks. We saw a massive wreck with William Byron. We ended up seeing wrecks with Joey Logano and Jimmy Johnson getting into it. Big hits, massive hits. I mean, they were going, I think, on top speed, they were going like 200 entering turn 1, so they were hauling the mail. But still, it just stinks how hard it is to pass and how one lane dominant Indianapolis is. Like, Indianapolis is like the definition of one of the worst tracks possible for the Cup cars. Well, because it's one lane, and it's the worst. It's the worst type of track for the Cup cars, especially the next-gen cars, because it's terrible in dirty air. You need the cars to spread out and have 2 dominant lanes, so both cars have opportunities to make passes on each other without being affected by the air. And that's kind of where we saw the leaders had such an advantage. But, I mean, it still wasn't compelling. The strategy was interesting. We saw Bubba Wallace getting some strategy there and take home stage 2. We had people saving. It was intriguing. I was able to watch. I was keeping up with it a lot because I was at the beach with my family, so I was listening to it on SiriusXM, watching it on YouTube TV, NBC, on my phone. So I was keeping up to it, looking at X. It was a strategy actually made it really compelling and interesting, especially listening to it. You weren't watching, you were listening to it, made it really interesting and compelling. But near the end of this race, it kind of came down to Brad Keselowski not supposed to make it, but saving fuel out front with Blaney kind of doing the same thing. Everyone was saving fuel. It turned into like a fuel savage race again because he couldn't pass. It was like Daytona and Talladega all over again. So it really ruined. But then Kyle Larson had a penalty on pit road, came back down, topped off, and then put him in a position where he was good on fuel and he was making passes, making moves. But the thing was, people were saving. So it wasn't like he was making his moves on guys when they were all going all out. Because what happened was, once Kyle Larson got to third, he wasn't passing Blaney. He couldn't get around Blaney. Now, I don't know if Larson started saving there as well. That's probably what he was doing when he couldn't pass. But it just turned into that. And then we thought we were going to see a really great big battle where Keselowski was probably going to run out maybe. Maybe he was going to be able to take it to the end. And Kyle Busch ruined it, being over aggressive, trying to pass Hamlin and spun himself out, wrecked himself pretty much. And then we got into interesting strategy. Coming down. What are we going to do? You got to pit? Is Brad going to pit? Brad, saves. We're coming to the first green, white, checkered. And Keselowski dips off. That means the rule is the inside lane bumps up a lane. That gave Larson the front row, but also both were confused by the rule. Blaney ended up being the control car because he was second. But what it ended up doing is giving Larson the preferred lane. The inside lane was the best lane at all. And it also looked like maybe Larson might have jumped because he was also rolling to his position, so he kept his momentum. I heard I think, on the Denny Hamlin podcast, he had about 1 mile per hour advantage while doing that hole, but it helped him the whole way through the corner. And Blaney was furious. But then we ended up having a massive wreck. Nemechek, Hamlin, Alex Bowman, I don't know who else was in it. It was a massive hit. And then we ended up turning into the final restart with Larson, the control car, Blaney number 2. They restart, Larson gets out front. But then we saw Rennick make a pass on Blaney to take second, and we're coming down, going into turn 2, and it ends up being a spin with Ryan Preece. He spins down the apron, kind of taps the wall. He's stuck there pretty much. No caution yet. I mean, they had a long time. He kind of tries to move, but he's not getting anywhere. They cross the white flag, and most likely they're showing Preece. He's stuck there, and then they throw a yellow, and then kaboom! X goes insane. I go insane. I was furious because we have to realize now NASCAR needs to stop trying to be so stupid with this next gen car. These cars just don't move when they have a flat tire. They're sitting on that freaking diffuser, and now here they're already coming out with this like new technology where a NASCAR official can like bump up their suspension or whatever and lift the car almost off the ground where it's not sitting on the diffuser to help it to keep rolling. That's a new technology they're coming out with. But it's just so ridiculous that NASCAR waited so long to throw this yellow. It was ridiculous. I think it was outrageous. And a lot of people would throw out Larson, Gordon Boy, all of this. I don't know. I mean, I was furious about it. I hate the way it ended. It's like your Brickyard, that's how you're going to have it ended. like that, where you're like, oh, well, hopefully he can move. But the thing was, I agree with a lot of people. Even if he got going, he was going way too slow no matter what to keep the race going. Someone hits him, it turns into something even bigger. Right? I understand, but you just come on, man. Right when he spins, if he, once he taps the wall, no matter, throw the yellow. He ain't moving, especially in this car. Well, congrats to Kyle Larson. Wins the Ricard 400 in the paint scheme that's supposed to mimic his Indy car, the McLaren orange. Really, really cool. Larson teases Indy 500. Overall, I felt like the races this weekend, I would say the Xfinity Series race was the best, even though I don't understand what the frick we're doing with cutting the horsepower. All NASCAR wants to do nowadays, it seems like limiting the horsepower. I don't know, man. They gotta fix this next gen car probably at mile and a half, but there's so much you're gonna do to do that, and I'm not gonna go over it. But look, the Ricard 400, Indianapolis, the NASCAR, they belong on the oval. They should stay in the oval. They're an oval series. They're not a road series. No matter how bad the oval may be overall with racing product, it's still the oval. It should stay like that. That's it. Goodbye.